and request the governor on their behalf to dialogue with them and seek a solution to the grievances with regard to the relocation of markets. I request that a video annexed RG video 3 be played for the benefit of members to say what I said. Please play the video for us.
Tulikuja hapa na Rais William Ruto, mkatupatia kura, na rais na mimi tunaahidi nyinyi ya kwamba tukipata serikali hakuna siku mtahangaika. Na kwa hivyo mimi nasikitika sana nikisikia serikali ya kaunti inanyanyasa nyinyi. Nikamwambia gavana nafasi. Gavana wetu Sakaja tukakubaliana ya kwamba akiwa gavana wa Nairobi, Rais William Ruto akiweko, mdogo wake, wafanyabiashara wetu watapata nafasi ya kufanya kazi yao. Na mimi nataka kuomba kwa heshima. Wale wote ambaye tumepatiwa nafasi ya uongozi na Wakenya, tukumbuke ya kwamba tulipata nafasi ya kuongoza kupitia kwa kura ya wananchi. Na tukumbuke ya kwamba wakubwa wetu, wadosi wetu ni Wakenya. Na hakuna siku tutaweza geuka Wakenya. Sababu ndio walitupatia nafasi ya uongozi. Public servants. Where again poor people will never again be evicted in brutal evictions by state agencies. And I say, freedom is here.
Now, the number of fatalities from the ongoing forcible eviction by the government has risen to 3, with another tragic loss in Mathare on Monday. An 18-year-old boy died as a bulldozer brought down a church in the area just moments after President William Ruto left. The young man, who was assisting in salvaging the church's belongings, became a casualty of the demolition. Earlier on Saturday, 2 individuals lost their lives in Mukuru kwa Ruben during a similar eviction exercise. Ben Kirui reports.
Monday evening, the ongoing forcible evictions in flood-prone areas tragically ended yet another life. The 18-year-old Ian Otieno lost his life in Mathare moments after President William Ruto left the area where he had been assessing the effects of floods. Bulldozers descended on homes near riverbanks, flattening structures marked for demolition. Winnie Makinda, Ian's mother, struggled to comprehend the loss of her son, a candidate in this year's KCSE.
Wakambia mtu atingatinga usiangushe hiyo kuta, kuna hapo ndani kuna watoto wa watu, wacha kuangusha hapo ndani kuna watoto wa watu. Akambia wamama waache kumpigia kelele.
Reports indicate that Ian Otieno was trying to salvage church properties when the bulldozer brought down the wall, leading to his sudden demise.
Driver wa tingatinga vile tu alianza kubomoa, hata mara ya kwanza huko mbele alikuwa tu anakani kama hata watu wakimwambia ngojea watu watoe vitu hataki kusikia.
Nilichimba hivi, mtoto wangu alikuwa anataka kutoroka, sawa, unasikia alishika mtoto wangu na hiyo kitu hapa, mtoto wangu akienda hivi, mtoto wangu ana hivi.
His death led to demonstrations by residents, prompting police intervention. The law enforcers lobbed tear gas canisters to disperse rioting residents.
Watu wakachukua mwili tena tuonyeshe maskari yenyewe wametulia mtoto. Maskari kutuona kwa gate wakaanza kutoa gun, wakaanza kulipua shoot.
Residents insist they will comply with government orders to vacate houses along riparian lands only if provided with alternative housing solutions. Saturday's demolitions in Mukuru kwa Ruben claimed 2 lives and injured 3 others, sparking outrage among residents who blamed the government for forcible evictions despite many not yet being relocated. Last week, the government mandated the evacuation of all residents from risky areas within 48 hours, including those near dams, those in areas prone to mudslides, and Kenyans residing on riparian lands. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Hakuna tena mambo ya evictions katika Nairobi. Kama kutakuwa na maneno, ni maneno ya relocation ambayo itakuwa ni kwa utaratibu bila ya mwananchi kuvunjiwa nyumba. Uwezi kutoka nyumbani alafu unarudi jioni unakuta masufuria barabarani na blanketi sijui imekaa wapi. That one will not happen again. We want to make sure that we are an orderly, humane society that respects the right of everybody, irrespective of who they are or irrespective of their financial status. We are all equal before the Constitution. Tumekubaliana watu wa Nairobi? Vijana tumekubaliana?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That was President William Ruto talking the same language as his deputy, that brutal and forceful evictions have no place under this administration. We have seen a video of brutal eviction. We have seen young children crying in tears. The deputy president is being accused of undermining his boss by just doing what his boss said, that we should never forcibly, brutally evict the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, the leadership of Nairobi business traders approached me sometime in March 2024 at the official residence to discuss multiple issues affecting business and requested engagement in the solution and intervention on these issues. Consequent to this meeting, I directed that short, medium, and long-term strategies be undertaken, coordinated by the Office of the Deputy President, to address the issues raised that cut across various agencies, including KRA, Kenya Post Authority, Anti-Counterfeit Authority, Kenya Bureau of Standards, the National Police Service, and the Kenya Copyright Board. On 11th April 2024, the Small Traders and Government Agencies Technical Committee, coordinated by my office, held a meeting to discuss issues raised by the small traders, including Mudhurwa Market, attended by the Office of the Deputy President's staff, in a supportive role in keeping with the draft framework of cooperation and engagement between the government, the Nairobi City County Government, and Nairobi business traders. Subsequent this, Mr. Speaker, is clear that my office have been having meetings with the Governor of Nairobi on various matters affecting the people of Nairobi, and hence the Deputy President cannot be accused of undermining devolution. Mr. Speaker, I've been accused of undermining devolution by allegedly holding meetings to fight alcohol. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, if the House took it that I say the House is a theater of the absurd. I was talking about this specific charge of undermining devolution by holding meetings to fight alcohol to be discussed in this House. That to me is what I thought that moment. If it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that would be the theater of the absurd. I did not attribute in any way by trying to demean this House that I sat for 5 years, by calling it the theater of the absurd. But this particular charge, Mr. Speaker, drug and alcohol problem in Kenya has been on the increase, and many of our youth have become addicted to alcohol and their lives destroyed because it causes them to drop out of school and start engaging in petty crime to look for money to buy alcohol. I'm a strong advocate for youth rehabilitation from alcohol and substance abuse, which I continue to encourage and support in order to save our future. With regard to alcohol control and regulation, I wish to state that I have held several meetings with the governors in Meru, Chuka, in Mombasa, in Nakuru, in Nyeri, and the efforts that President William Ruto asked me to lead in eradication of illicit brew has been very successful, And we have been working with governors and county assemblies who have been developing legislation on the control of licensing of alcoholic drinks. If there is one program that has had the best working relationship between county governments and the national government, it is this particular program. I'm a bit emotive about illicit alcohol because I lost my brothers. One who was a medical doctor to alcohol, another who was a farmer to alcohol. I take it passionately. I don't know who complained about this particular charge. I have not seen any evidence of any complaint, and I have not had any person in Kenya complaining that the deputy president is undermining with the devolution by leading the war on illicit brews and drug abuse. Whatever this House decides tonight and the other subsequent House, whatever happens to Rigathi Gachagua, whether he's in or out of office, this war must continue and must be won for the sake of our children. I want us to watch video number 4, RG4.
Leaders, those of us who have been elected, Madam Waiguru, Governor Kahiga, Badirisha, Kangata, Wamatangi, what shall we tell our people? Where are we? What shall we tell the people who elected us? When we meet them, what shall we tell them? When our children got wiped out by alcohol and drugs, where are we? We'll have nothing to say. Dede Nyoro, Kimani Ichung'wa, Madenge, mutaambia watu nini? Mukami, mutaambia watu nini? So please, this forum here today, let us be open and candid. Speak from your heart. Let us know what ails us. What is it must we do? We have the support of the president and he is waiting. He has told me by 7 p.m. today, he wants a report. He cannot accept the situation. He cannot. Neither can I. And none of you should accept this situation. It is not right. It is not fair. It is not acceptable. We must deal with it as leaders. And we are here, we are all leaders. As an OCS, you are a leader. That's why we have been given that responsibility. As an ACC, you are a leader. County Commissioner, wewe ni kiongozi. DCIO, wewe ni kiongozi. Sisi ni viongozi. Na juu ya hayo, sisi ni wazazi. Tafadhalini, tukubaliane, tutafute suluhisho. Na tukipata, tuende tufanye kazi. It is possible. It is doable. It is something that we can do.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's very clear that the meeting had all governors, members of parliament who are present here today, policemen, everybody, and we are all in agreement that the war must be won. It cannot, but the deputy president should be impeached for leading the war on alcohol. Sensational statements against the National Intelligence Service, its Director General, and officers. Mr. Speaker, during the assumption of office, I took an oath of allegiance in the following terms. Oath or solemn affirmation of allegiance to the President, Deputy President. In full realization of the high calling, I assume as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, I do swear solemnly affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya, that I will obey, preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution of Kenya, as by law established, and all other laws of the Republic, that I will protect and uphold the sovereignty, integrity, and the dignity of the Kenyan people. So help me God. That is the oath that I took in Kasarani. Article 239, Article 3 of the Constitution provides that in performing their functions and accessing their powers, the national security organs and every member of the national security organ shall not act in a partisan manner, further any interest of a political party or cause, or prejudice a political interest or political cause that is legitimate under this Constitution. Article 239, Subarticle 5 of the Constitution provides the national security organs are subordinate to civilian authority. In relation to this allegation, I wish to state that the National Intelligence Service holds a very critical role in ensuring the safety and security of our country. They are responsible for gathering intelligence and share it with all our law enforcement agencies to ensure that the country is safe at all times. Consequently, when the country was caught flat-footed with regard to the scope and extent of the public's dissatisfaction with the Finance Bill 2024, which degenerated in a Gen Z protest, it pointed to the failure of the National Intelligence Service in carrying out its mandate. I am persuaded that the National Intelligence Service ought to have known beforehand that the public was completely opposed to the Finance Bill, and they ought to have briefed the President before the protest began, and this would have caused a change of tact by government regarding the proposed bill, and the protest which culminated in the loss of innocent lives and destruction of property could have been avoided. Hence, I expressed my opinion on this in my public media briefing in Mombasa, and my utterances were not any different from what happens in other countries when there is a lapse or failure by the intelligence agencies. The nation has witnessed unfortunate instances of several extrajudicial killings, abductions, and disappearances. I firmly believe that if the National Intelligence Service had acted diligently, these instances would not have been witnessed. Under the Constitution, the government agencies are supposed to be accountable to the Kenyan people, including the National Intelligence Service, and calling them out when a dereliction of duty does not amount to undermining them. I am also aware that the Kenya Kwanza government has been at the forefront in calling out officers who do not seem to understand their work. Recently, my boss, the President, publicly complained that there are some PSs and CSs who did not seem to understand their role. Please play for me video number 5, RG5.
On President William Ruto has today described some members of his cabinet as utterly clueless and uninformed about the dockets they occupy. And in a sign of trouble for cabinet secretaries, the State House gates were shut for those who arrived late, with both President Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua giving a sharp tongue lashing to the latecomers. And our Citizen TV's Timothai Goin reports the atmosphere at the State House, Nairobi, left little doubt on President Ruto's disappointment with a vast section of his 22-member cabinet.
A cold morning in Nairobi, but the seats on the State House grounds came ultra-heated, particularly for cabinet secretaries. The cabinet members came here to sign performance contracts, but the oral appraisal of the day spurred anything between trouble and outright doom.
If you cannot keep time with your employer, you have basically dismissed yourself. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So, for those who came late, who are members of the executive, I will be expecting a written explanation, and it should not include matters of traffic.
Punctuality was at issue, with some cabinet secretaries being locked out of State House for lateness. And from the podium, the president and his senior lieutenants were unforgiving.
Nimeona watu wale wamechelewa, nikaona rais unaniona ninamjua. Nikaona uso yake nikajua hapa kimeumana. Sababu leo ni siku ya performance contract. Ile siku muhimu sana ya kuja kuweka. Na wewe umefika pale, rais amekaa. Tayari amekaa na ndiye rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Wewe umechelewa ukiwa kuona nani? Who else have you gone to see?
One of the things we need to learn in our performance contract is to beat the traffic.
For the 19 cabinet secretaries present, the atmosphere at State House progressed from bad to worse as President Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua issued a blistering assessment of the performance of the cabinet members.
Many of you, the people I speak to, don't even know what is going on in your ministries or departments. You have very scanty information. The moment I know more than you in your ministry, then you must begin to understand that something is very wrong. How do you run a ministry or a department or a parastatal if you have no information? That is the highest level of incompetence.
Those of us who came with the president from the political space and who are his friends, and we assisted him to become president. Once he gives us a job, that is the termination of that friendship. The friendship with the president will be based on nothing but performance.
From travel habits to basic work ethic and even media appearances, it was a brutal ground zero appraisal for the cabinet.
Why do you have to honor every invitation that you have been given to every country? Your Excellency, at times we have tried to hold cabinet committees, we can't. 5, 6, 7, 8 ministers are out of the country. Some change clothes at the airport from one country to another. That is the truth. Why can't you regulate yourself? If the president was to travel and honor every invitation, he will be out of this country the whole year. You just have to decide what is useful and other things you can leave to our ambassadors out of the country.
So when you hear my deputy saying, find time, travel, but travel and see the people who have hired us, you know, go to different parts of Kenya so that you can get feedback from the public.
We have done so much as an administration, but the information is not out there. Our ministers are quiet. They are called for TV interviews, they don't show up to say what they have done. And then the media have a field day because nobody talks for government. I would rather we spend more time explaining to the people of Kenya what we have done in our respective dockets as opposed to travel. And if we have to travel, let's travel up country to where wananchi are and explain what we are doing.
And I remember I called CS Chelugui. I didn't find him, so I called his PS and I found her and I explained to her, I told her, look, the public is not understanding this. Did I call you or not on Sunday? You know, I told you this is what the public is saying. Please do more sensitization on Hustler Fund Phase 2.
With a very public expression of disappointment in his cabinet, President Ruto has triggered speculation on changes in government as his administration approaches the end of its first year in office. From punctuality to work ethic and general performance, the proverbial axe could well fall somewhere. With the performance contracts expected to foster a culture of high performance in the public service and also ensure that public resources are properly utilized, it is also set to offer a framework for President William Ruto to reward performers and also institute sanctions on non-performers. Chamutai Goin, Citizen TV.
Mr. Speaker, President William Ruto, my boss, and I have been calling out senior government officials when they fall short of expectations. The Director General of the National Intelligence Service is no exception. He's not above the law. He's accountable to the people of Kenya for his performance. And I have had an argument that we should not call out those in the security sector. I would like you to play the next video,
where we have the most incompetent Inspector General of Police, I think, in the world. The most incompetent in the whole world. His incompetence may not necessarily play out when things are working, but when things get to a head and you need some decisions to be made, I can tell you for sure, the gentleman we have as an IG cannot make any decision.
Nataka tumwambie ule mtu wa sinema mingi anaitwa nani ule mtu? Ule sijui anaitwa DCI, ule anaitwa nini? Ule mtu anaitwa Kinoti. Awache ujinga. Huyo bwana Kiboti awache ujinga. Sio kama tunaelewana. Huyo Kinoti hakuna kitu amefanya kwa hii Kenya ya kisiasa. Yeye Huyu ni mtu ya sinema, anaendesha makesi kwa magazeti, anatuandikia barua, sijui barua ya kilomita ngapi. Mr. Kinoti, please save your time. Stop writing to us long letters. Leave matters of elections to IEBC. You have no business in IEBC. You have failed as DCI. We don't want you to fail our elections. Tunaelewana? Huyo bwana Kinoti awache hiyo ujinga yake anaendesha pale, kwa sababu anatukasirisha. Huyo bwana Kinoti tunataka tumwambie awachane na watu wa IEBC wafanye hiyo uchaguzi. Alipatiwa kazi ya kufanya criminal investigation. He has never done anything. Ile kesi yote anafanya kesi kwa magazeti, akiambiwa apeleke evidence kule kotini ameshindwa. So bwana Kinoti, wacha sinema. You have failed, and wait for August so that you can.
Honorable members, that was President William Ruto as Deputy President criticizing IG Mutiabai, DCI Kinoti. Rigathi Gachagua has learned his job from his boss, that public officers must be called to order when they fell short of expectation. And I never saw anybody bring William Ruto here for impeachment for criticizing the IG or the DCI. This is a very unfair allegation. Mr. Speaker, it is also reported by media that the IMF has already warned about impending unrest during the people's dissatisfaction with the 2023 and 24 finance bill. Many of you will recall, Mr. Speaker, after the September 11th terrorist attack in the US, the US intelligence agencies were massively criticized, and an inquiry was even opened to investigate why their intelligence agency was not able to detect and thwart the attack. All we are saying is that our National Intelligence Service is accountable to the people of Kenya for its performance. Mr. Speaker, conniving with cartels in the tea sector to block KTDA from implementing guaranteed minimum return, Mr. Speaker, I am here to see a shred of evidence to that effect, and I have nothing to say. I have seen an allegation that we have not been able to do coffee reforms. Mr. Speaker, out of my work, coordinating coffee reforms, the Cooperative Bill 2023 and the Coffee Bill 2023 is before this House. I request this House, after these impeachment proceedings, to embark on those two bills so that the coffee farmers can realize the full benefit of the coffee reforms that we have initiated. There is another allegation that I have taken control of a local cooperative society in Madeira constituency. I don't know the name of that constituency, of that cooperative. It is false. I am here to see any evidence. I have nothing to say because there is nothing to be said. On the issue of shareholding, which I think members are interested in listening to, I listened to you this morning, and it was quite emotive. By virtue of provisions of the third schedule of the Political Parties Act, the constituent parties of the Kenya Kwanza Coalition entered into various agreements, which were deposited with the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate for purposes of Article 108 of the Constitution of Kenya. The following were members: UDA, ANC, Ford Kenya, PAR, Farmers Party, Chama cha Kazi, Communist Party, Economic Freedom Party, Service Party, Tujibebe wa Kenya Party, Umoja na Maendeleo Party of Kenya, and the Democratic Party of Kenya. In accordance with the provision of Clause 3, Schedule 3, a power sharing agreement and development agenda for the certain regions of Kenya, I attach copies of these agreements, RG32. All those agreements talked about specific regions. The leaders who appended their signatures canvassed issues of appointments to do with specific regions. Power sharing agreement between UDA and ANC and Ford Kenya, for example, say that the UDA would nominate the coalition president, the presidential and deputy presidential candidates that was honored. The president would guarantee the stature, the dignity, and financial and operational autonomy of the office of the deputy president, which I have been insisting on because it's part of the coalition agreement. The the ANC would be allocated the position of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, which has happened. Ford Kenya would be allocated the position of the Speaker of the National Assembly, and that is why Honorable Masika Wetangula sits here today. In accordance with Article 2 of the Power Sharing Agreement, ANC at Ford Kenya would have a 30% share is a word, of the national government positions. This drives my utterances about shareholding. It is embedded in all these agreements that are attached here for you to read. I heard this morning an honorable member saying that the deputy president said the people of Ukambani will not get resources because they did not vote for Kenya Kwanza government. That is not true. The deputy president of the Republic of Kenya does not allocate resources. Resources for the development of the Republic of Kenya are appropriated by the National Assembly of Kenya, where I am today. The deputy president will help the president to oversee the implementation of funds allocated and appropriated by the National Assembly. It is therefore not possible that the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya has the capacity to deny any part of Kenya resources because of the way they voted. The decisions on how resources will be allocated for the development of the Republic of Kenya are made here by the honorable members. If your area has no development, please don't impeach the deputy president. Don't accuse him of not giving you resources. You are in this house to make sure that your area where you come from is allocated appropriate resources, because that is your job. The agreements are attached, therefore I don't want to go into them. Let me say my speeches on the shareholder issue were informed by the foresaid power sharing covenants, which are founded on law, having been deposited with the registrar of political parties, and lessons learned from the well-known disputed 202 NAC power sharing agreement. Further, sharing agreements are a feature of government formation in all democracies in the world that provide for the formation. My pronouncements on the issue, properly understood, are not only anchored in law, but entirely harmless and incapable of being construed as a basis for ethnic animosity, a danger to national cohesion, or a threat to national unity. On the contrary, coalition building has been one of the most important innovations since the disputed 2007 elections in ensuring stability, equitable sharing of political power, national cohesion, and fostering of national unity. Indeed, Kenya Kwanza main opponent in 2022 general election, Azimio la Umoja Coalition, One Kenya Coalition Party, was a political party consisting of 25 political parties who also executed a power sharing agreement based on shares. I'm also aware that the Jubilee Coalition that executed a 50-50 power sharing agreement between TNA party and URP party for 2013 general election. I have thus not violated section 13(1)(a) and 62 of the National Cohesion Integration, nor has this commission summoned me to explain any of my comments and how it can affect cohesion. However, notwithstanding the said power share agreement, upon election as deputy president, I went out of my way, as required by the Constitution of Kenya, to serve all Kenyans regardless of their political preferences during the election or ethnic origin. I now produce the following video showing some of my speeches all over the country as